Right. Okay, now we need the microphone. No. Right, I'm just going to ask you beautiful people, you beautiful person, Salini, can you hear? Where's the other one? Okay?
Yep.
All right. And do you have the lapel mic? Do you have the other one? In your okay. Okay. Hi. Are we good?
It needs to be turned around.
Why?
Because it's still filming me.
Oh.
Lovely though I am.
so I was so excited when I found out that because of Casey, Dr. Ian, in the Australian trial, he was so upset about this. And then he said, I'm so what do I do? She kept saying, so we're saying it all together. I love that person, Catherine, thank you for bringing it. That's been a misgender. It's like, when the kids have a birthday party, and then about 2.5 hours in, 2 hours in, like, when it's time for them to go home, they sound a bit mad, I take their mum's hurry up. So, what a day with us, what a family running, why it's almost like being okay, so we decided to come to Aberdeen because we heard there were many grannies on the bus, and thanks to Keen from Aberdeen, and also some fantastic women in organising. We said we come.
Well, Robert and Bruce, outside of this, which are people that seem to have forgotten to actually love the city in which they live. So anyway, so we're here, and I've been absolutely awestruck by how stunning and wonderful this whole place is. And then you've got Euless, like what is that? It's the cleanest air I've breathed for so long. I have no idea what this council is doing, but obviously they think that women have penises. And the individual police officers, I mean you no harm when I say we are here to test your hate laws today. We are here to provoke free speech and to see if we trigger any arrests. We understand we're being filmed. And the irony is, they over there can say lesbians love penis. That's not hate speech apparently. But if we say that no man has a vagina, no man has a vagina, no woman has a penis, no woman has a penis, there is no such thing as non-binary, there is no such thing as non-binary, and transitioning children is profound abuse. Transitioning children is profound abuse. And donate all your money to let women speak. Anyway, so Scotland is it's the litmus test for how much can you provoke a population before they rise up against you. I feel that that's what's happening here. I feel it in the fact that you have so many restrictions on where people can drive and what cars they're allowed to drive in this place. I feel it so much so when you all know what's being taught in schools and you're told there's not much you can do about it. I'm told it's so when you have a buffer zone and they immediately break it and nobody does anything about it. And I just want to highlight that if we were Rangers fans and they were an opposing team, there would be a buffer zone. If we were Muslims and they were Britain first, there would be a buffer zone. If we were Jews and they were, oh no, there wouldn't. So false comparison there. Actually, if we were Jews and they were Hamas or Palestine or Gaza, the bad elements of that, we wouldn't be protected either. So in many ways, we know how that feels. But that is what's happening here. We aren't a threat to the police. We aren't going to beat the living crap out of anyone. We aren't going to threaten them with violence. Oh, I don't know, because we're women. That's why. We don't do that. And there was a song long ago called Donald Where's Your Trousers? And I say to those men, if they don't like trousers, they could have just worn kilts. They didn't have to pretend to be women at all, and they could have got away with a bit of air on their thighs. chest called Sandy Peggy. Well, it's going to ruin my makeup if I talk too much about her, but Sandy Peggy basically said, I can't say what she probably said, but she's politely, she said, no. She used that word no, and she meant it, and she didn't say it in the way that some of you lovely Scottish women say, which is, get the fuck. She probably said, I'm uncomfortable, I'd rather you didn't. It's not very, I just don't want to see your penis. That's stopped. Sound or signal?
Everything. I think it needs to be restarted.
Do you know how to do it?
I'll give it
Mary, she's the technical support. Can I get the start? Okay, so I should get started again. Oh yeah, no. Peggy stood up and she said no, and she started conversations in Scotland that haven't been taking place, and I'm sure if you're hopping any taxi, because they're fully fledged grown men normally, they know all about this. They know about Sandy Peggy, and I was reliably informed this morning that amongst the deep sea diving oil community, I'm a little bit of a pin-up, so I don't want to brag. But anyway, Sandy Peggy has started these conversations, so if you've ever been afraid to speak about this, she's your woman. She's your case. She's the thing. She's like sport is in America and Australia. That's what's getting people talking over there. And I don't know how you feel about Trump, but personally, I think he's a bit bloody fantastic at the moment with that executive order. I hope his golf course has single-sex toilets, that's all I'm saying. Otherwise, that would be quite futile and a little bit hypocritical. So anyway, so we're here today to test your hate speech laws. I think you have a duty to do that if you have the microphone. There is a wolf and nurse's clothing over there. I think it's your duty, if you can take the microphone, to try and provoke these laws and just see how far they go. I don't know about you, but I'm quite happy to go up in a court and to misgender the living shit out of anyone. I think it's my duty as a women's rights activist to just speak the truth. So if you can do the same, that would be wonderful. And I know many of you have been victims of the state in Scotland and quite a pernicious silencing. So do use this opportunity today to tell as many people around the world, just remember, we get an audience everywhere. All around the world watch us, especially when these idiots come out. Because if they didn't come out today with their communist China flags, the little red army, if they didn't come out today with their fuck you I'm kind t-shirts, and their socialist workers, I mean, when did socialist workers care so much about men in dresses? Unless they are them, which is the only conclusion. Oh, let me just also say while I've got you. Trinity Hall were decent men apparently, although I regret I can't actually name any. But Trinity Hall decided to cancel us on the strength of asking who was speaking. So that was how it went. Who is speaking? So clearly, some overactive council person had emailed everyone and said, you're not having these terrible women, are you? You're not having that Posie Parker, are you? And so a little thing went out saying, where are they? Pretty sure, I don't know this for sure, but I'm just going to say it because information doesn't seem to mean anything to these assholes. So anyway, so the email goes out and then it comes back, and when they raid Kellie-Jay Keen, that's the point at which they say, we can't host you. Now this is knowing that it was an International Women's Day event for the last few months, and certainly the last 4 or 5 weeks they've known that we will rent their place. And they're going to charge a lot of money for food, I'm just saying. And so the council, the 7 trades, I think it's Reverend or Deacon Ian Thompson, who presides over the 7 trades, they all decided that the best thing that they could do for women on International Women's Day was to let violent misogynists win and to stop us talking. Well, we're here to say, we will let women speak! Okay, who would like to speak? Jean from Aberdeen. Can we get that granny off the bus?
Oh, I'm Jean, and I'm back in Aberdeen. And nobody shoved me off a bus yet. Right, I had to come for today, International Women's Day, because I want to thank all you brave women here and watching online for holding the line, for pushing back against the madness of gender ideology. Yes! And I think I should start by asking you to give a cheer for Kellie-Jay Keen. Hooray for Kellie-Jay! And let women speak. Kellie-Jay's been heroic in her commitment to safeguarding women's rights and for providing a platform for hundreds of women and worldwide, and to share their experiences and be heard by hundreds of thousands of women. So we need to be thankful for that. Right. Now, being International Women's Day, I felt it was imperative to acknowledge the situation in Afghanistan. The women in Afghanistan, their lives have been taken from them. The Women's Rights Network Afghanistan has reports of imprisonment, prolonged sexual abuse, torture and forced abortions, and stoning, going back to stoning women. And that's on top of the total restrictions imposed on them. And if we don't care about that as women, then what are we doing here? What are those folk over there? Because apparently, a women's rights group was told it was white supremacy to care and do anything about women in Afghanistan. Right. Afghanistan and Iran demonstrate to us that the fight for women's rights is never over. It's never over. That's why we are here and why I feel I have to speak today. And also, I felt I wanted to combat the lies, fears and hate coming from the deluded but dangerous gender pushers. The evidence is beyond clear. Gender ideology harms women and children. I was delighted when the GRA got stopped, but actually in Scotland our institutions bring in self-ID irrespective of the law and against the law. So, women are legally entitled to single-sex spaces and services, but no, not in Scotland apparently. And crisis Scotland still can't come up to define a woman and thereby fail the most vulnerable amongst us. Shame! 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 Now, social media has been full of lies, and I want to respond. And actually, I will acknowledge a headline. When I looked at it, I thought, oh yeah, actually, yes. And the headline said, "Let women speak doesn't speak for women." And I thought, we are women, and we are speaking for ourselves. I am an adult human female, and I am speaking for myself. I'm not a politician, an academic, or paid ideologue. I'm just a Scottish wifey and granny. And I want to stop the erosion of our rights. I want them stopped for us here now and for future generations.
Well, we'll put it back in.
Now, for a bit of audience participation, I'm going to have a wee quiz, okay? Now, this is a quiz about spotting the fascists, okay? A social media post said, we need to find out where the fascists are. Well, I think we can help find out where the fascists are. Yeah, okay. So, okay, and I want folks shouting no at the right point. So, right, first of all, who here is seeking to shut down free speech? Is it us? No! Who threatens violence? Is it us? No! No, our evening venue was cancelled, not because they thought we were going to go in and trash the place, but because they thought folks from over there were going to chase us there and they were going to trash the place. Yes! Goodness me. Right, who carries out actual violence? Is it us? No! At the Aberdeen Women Won't Wish, a steward was deliberately run into and punched. Was that person arrested? No, they were not. Now, the other question is, question 4 in my quiz with 5 questions. Right. Who denies same-sex attracted women their legitimacy? Is it us? Is it us? No. No, it is not us. And lastly, were we told, and looking about, I can see we were not, were we told to wear masks to come here? No. Well, let's... Pardon? Oh, is it? Sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay. Right, okay. So, yes, and, yeah, and black... Is that better? Yeah. Tell me you heard some of me so far. Right, okay, right, so we've done the quiz, and 5 out of 5, where do we point to for the fascists? Over there for the fascists.
They're behind you!
They're behind us, exactly. You know this, somebody I was talking to before today, he said, "What kind of man puts on a mask to shout at wifeys and lassies?" Good question. What kind of man is that? And I'll tell you, a misogynistic bully of a man. Misogynistic bullies men. Gender ideology feeds men's rights movement. It's fueled by deeply misogynistic men and their Aunt Lydias and pick-me fangirls. It's a men's rights movement claims our language, our spaces, and breaches our personal boundaries. And to bolster their influence, they have wittingly targeted children. Right, I've spoken quite a while, more than I thought, but what can we do? Before I go on, what can we do? Well, we continue to push back and assert our rights. The rights of women and girls to safety, privacy and dignity. So, to finish, I will go back to the reference of International Women's Day. And as I said, I read some of the posts, and somebody had written, "Ne pasarán, ne pasarán." In reading that, I thought of La Pasionara, Dolores Iburi in Madrid in 1936, and she would surely be spinning to think that her words were co-opted by a bunch of men shouting at women. Yep. So I am asking that we claim those words back today and we shout "Ne pasarán." Can you do that? Yes. Ne pasarán. Ne pasarán. And that means holding the line. Holding the line. The ideology has already gone too far and it must go no further. So, in Aberdeen in Scotland, we already know the word fear. That's what we are supposed to be today. We are supposed to be too feared to speak. We are supposed to be too feared to turn up. Well, I'm nay feared, you are nay feared, and we are nay feared.
Nothing's coming up, that's the problem.
To finish off, I haven't got a poem, but I've got the slogan. And our slogan is, "Ne feared, ne pasarán, and women winna wished." Can we say that? Can we say that? Ne feared, ne pasarán, and women winna wished.
Legend! Legend! It's a bit terrible to say it myself. Anyway, can we just do this one thing? It's very pure, but it's very much in keeping with how I entertain myself. Can we all turn around and say, "Hello, Dave"? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Hello, Dave! Hello, Dave! Doesn't Dave look beautiful today? I'm a little bit worried because there's a few of them that have clearly got some facial injuries because they've got bandages over their whole face. They're quite attractive bandages, pattern bandages, but they clearly have maybe had a makeup accident or something, I don't know. But they're very proud of themselves with their sort of noncery, where trans girls are girls, seahorses are horses. I believe that's one of their signs. And they were saying when I arrived, trans rights are women's rights. And in the great words of Angela Rayner, trans rights are women's rights. Because if they're women's rights, if women's rights don't include penis rights, do women even exist? And that's genuinely what they were saying, and I don't think they did it ironically. I don't think they know that so-called trans rights have the intention of devouring every single right we have ever had. And those men in dresses do it this way. There's other men in dresses in Afghanistan, for example, or they might call it robes, who decide that women can't even look out of a window. And we have the existential thing of, what is a window over here? So in many ways, We thought we'd done well, didn't we, ladies? We had the Spice Girls doing all girl power in short, tight dresses with little cleavage. We somehow, I did, thought that was empowering. We thought we'd made it. We had like Sybil Shepherd being the boss of Bruce Willis. Do you remember? She was like the high flyer. She made it. And then the men sort of went, oh, hang on a minute, what you mean lipstick and heels? That means that we get some sort of privilege. We'll have some of that. We'll take some of that. We'll watch porn until we go blind. And then we'll put some makeup on and we'll have some of that. And then here they are today. And what an incredible array of people there are, men. The other thing they were doing earlier was saying there's many more of us than you. Yes, Dave, because we don't threaten you with violence. It's quite cool to come out. In fact, they can say they want to behead us in a sign behind a politician, and that's perfect. That's not hate speech. That's perfectly fine. So they can come out and they can say the most revolting, disgusting, intimidating, violent and threatening things to us, and it's not remotely criminal. And we can't do any of that, no matter how much we really, really want to. We can't do any threats of violence. We can just do our weapons of mass destruction, which is to say, no woman has a penis, no man has a vagina, there is no such thing as non-binary, and transitioning children is profound abuse. And before I invite the next person, can I just say, really, really keep your hearts warm, because they think they're genuinely disrupting our voices. They've got all that energy, and just listen. All that energy, and we can still hear each other speak, so the winner takes it all, people, the winner takes it all. Who else would like to speak? Sorry, was that lady just behind you? Oh no! And then you can go next. Alright, I got Let me give you these. Did you try it?
Can everybody hear me? Oh, marvellous. I'm pooping myself. Please be gentle.
Did you try it when I was
I
talking?
wrote a thing.
Well, Sonia was saying it was all right.
These days,
She said it was
I
all right.
we
It was
must
all
be kind to be cruel.
What harm can be done, they ask, by just letting people exist? Well, what harm is done by pretending that women are lipstick and illusion, as hard to define as a smeared line reflected in a funhouse mirror? What harm is done by pretending that lipstick and delusion make a rapist more of a woman than your mother ever was? What harm is done by fixing our autistic, our gay children, by cutting into them like wayward dogs that just need a quick snip? For they will be happy and full of joy and surrounded by rainbows as they bleed quietly into their bandages. It's the biggest thing since that lobotomy craze. So much joy. Oh, but apparently the deepest cuts are dealt by the bladed tongues of women. Women who speak the truth. For truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help us God. That truth burns the unprepared minds. That truth is just not kind. And logic is literal violence. So, We should be speaking the truth about nothing, as silently as possible, and folding ourselves into ever more elaborate origami creations to entertain the delusions of others. So much has changed, but nothing has changed in this hall of mirrors. To speak the truth is to risk the consequences of shattered glass, as our sisters across the seas know, just as our mothers knew. Much better to march quietly in file behind the pink, white and blue, to march to the off-kilter beat of stilettos crushing the feet of the wearers, to drown out the inconvenient voices of those witches over there by roaring in unison the kind but confusing cant of our official 1984 hymn sheet. Songs of clownfish, science and history rewritten, updated 2024. So shout sweetly, oh brothers, sisters, and siblings of nebulous gender, as you crush them softly beneath your gaily painted jackboots. Strap them securely into the quick assembly intersectional ducking stool, TM, and punch them in their stupid, shrill bitch throats with fists wrapped in regret. The sinners should have listened. We screamed so sensibly after all. And these days, I fear, we must be cruel to be kind. Thank you.
Now you've done it once, you can do it again.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you. Testing, testing. Okay.
Nice and close.
Aye, beautiful beings. Is Misha Crystal and Falchagu Let Women Speak Aberdeen. I'll be honest in saying, this is really scary. This is really scary being here. I can feel myself shaking. I can feel the lump in my throat and the knot in my stomach. And this is why this is needed. Not only is this event helping women speak, but the act of allowing women to speak has a profound effect. You see, with the female body, our reproductive organs are connected to our throat. So by letting women speak, we're actually activating the power in our womb, and vice versa. Divine Quine is my business name or soul purpose name. And so for me, the word divine, I see the divine as source, creator, the universe, God, whatever name you want to give this source. And to embody the divine is to feel heavenly, bliss, pleasure, to embody authenticity, love, and truth. The act of divination is to uncover truth. Here in the northeast of Scotland, we have this word quine for lassies, for girls. And this word might come from the Norwegian word kvinje, meaning woman. Woman meaning adult human female. This Norwegian word as well might have some connections to the Old English word quen, which also meant woman, but furthermore than only meaning woman, it was woman of royalty, the kind of woman married to a king. So we have our very own word here in the northeast of Scotland to describe females as queens, as quines. So thank you to all the divine quines for being here today, for courageously showing your face. I know it's not easy to be here, so thank you for your presence. Thank you for being here. I have a lot of empathy and love for this group on the other side. For me, I can understand why so many people feel so confused at this time. If you think about the chemtrails in the sky, the pharmaceuticals in the water that we drink, the carcinogenics in the food that we're consuming, the EMFs in the sky, in amongst Corona, which we've just gone through, and everything that people are consuming on media, it's no wonder that people feel confused, and truly my heart goes out to them, and I hope that they can come home in their body. To me, it would not be authentic to affirm to someone that they were born in the wrong body. To me, that feels hateful, to affirm that they were not good enough as they were born. There is an attack on humanity that is happening right now. And one of the most powerful things that we can all do is connect with the power of our reproductive organs. There's so much power, life force energy here. Not just for babies, but for art projects, music, dance, whatever creative outlet that you have. And so the more that we connect to our reproductive organs, the more we are in our power. And so for the divine quines that are here, I'm going to share a beautiful ritual, or at least I think it's a beautiful ritual, connecting us to our body, our wombs, our divinity, and Mother Earth. Mother Earth is crying out for us to connect with her and to gift our menstrual blood to the earth. The earth is not vegetarian. She needs death to create new life. And with this blood which we naturally shed of non-violence, this is filled with potassium, phosphorus, nitrogen, and stem cells. If you put this into your garden, you are going to have the most abundant garden and a beautiful connection with nature. And I feel like this is what we've lost. Connection with Mother Earth because she creates life. Connection with Father Sky, he impregnates Mother Earth from the rain. My feelings are, be who you want to be. That's okay. Just please leave the children alone. Trans rights are human rights, but trans rights are not women's rights. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kelly.
You're very welcome. I'm going to lie, it's a bit odd to say period blood and trans in the same paragraph. Right, yeah, but the trans thing is just bonkers. It doesn't exist. It's a lie. Okay, good. Great. Okay, wonderful. Okay, I just heard the word trans rights are human rights, and I felt a little bit of sick in my mouth. That's all. I'm just saying there is no, I just want everyone to be aware, there is no such thing as trans. It's a set of behaviours, at most. And what is the behaviour? The behaviour is, I'm going to go wherever I want, I'm going to do whatever I want, I'm going to just say whatever I want, and I'm going to bloody enjoy watching you uncomfortable as I demand that you agree. Trans behaviour. We know it's a fetish. We all knew it was a fetish, right? We're all acutely aware that those sad little men with their poor wives, we knew that what they were doing was studying their wives as some sort of case study so they could better do it. And I just want to talk about trans widows who often get forgotten. What happens to them? I think they're saying something I don't know. It's about me. I haven't brought any milkshake, boys. Sorry. But what happens is these men devour their wives. They parasitically invade every aspect and every part of our lives that are female that we have carved out for ourselves. That's what they do. Now, it might be a changing room, but let me say this. It is not a happenstance. It is not a byproduct of these men's demands that women feel uncomfortable. It is absolutely integral to every aspect of their behaviour that those men make women feel uncomfortable. That's part of the whole act. That's the enjoyment. They're duper's delight. Their smirky little face when they know that you have to go along with what they say, or they can see it in your eyes. When you walk past one of these men parading his fetish, he sees you clock him, he knows you see him, and that gives him an immense sense of gratification and pleasure. That gives him at least a good couple of hours to just continue. That's the fuel he's looking for. So I honestly say to you women, either look at him and mouth the words, or look away. If you can look away and ignore them, which sometimes it's just too damn funny not to, but if you can look away and ignore them, just take pleasure in knowing that you take a little bit of joy out of every minute of their day. So just look away. Look away. No, I won't. Anyway, who else would like to speak? Teresa. You can be as long as you like. Just don't talk about trans rights.
No, I won't. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for turning out for International Women's Day. Am I close enough? Is that better? Okay. It's International Women's Day, but I want to do the local bit because we're standing outside Marshall College. Now, for all of you Aberdonians out there, you'll know this was originally the universities and it housed the medical school. You know, real bodies, science, biology, XX, XY, we all know what that means. And Scotland is the home of the Enlightenment. But speaking about bodies and medicine, who amongst us were down watching Sandy Peggy stand up for herself, stand up for women in Dundee? Can I just say, hooray for Sandy Peggy! Hooray for Sandy Peggy! You stood up for women, you stood up for yourself, good to you. And she dared to be honest. In the words of Rabbi Berg, she dared to be honest. Coincidentally, it's the Party of Women's mantra, isn't it? Well said. Okay, but Party of Women and Kellie-Jay Keen and Let Women Speak and all us women here today, it's more than about honesty. They've got us to stand up and be brave, okay? They've helped us find our voices all around the world. Thank you. Who can ever forget Northern Ireland, Belfast, Brandon? A woman is not a dress. Fantastic. Then there was the young Australian mum in Melbourne, absolutely amazing, when she said, my tolerant left and gone and lost their minds, their fucking minds. I loved that bit. Misogyny had had a revamp in a dress. Oops, that was ace. Hello, Australia. And as for you handmaidens over there, I'll leave that bit to her. And then thirdly, closer to home, we have our own Jean for Aberdeen. Jean for Aberdeen. Jean from Aberdeen! Jean from Aberdeen! I love her, she's my friend. She's a fairly lefty like me, but hey-ho, now with a fash apparently. Anyway, I'm going to finish with a wee bit of Burns. I know it's International Women's Day, but this is about women. And it says, while Europe's eye is fixed on mighty things, the fate of empires and the fall of kings, while quacks of state must each produce his plan, and even children list the rights of man. Amid this mighty fuss, just let me mention, the rights of women merit some attention. Woohoo! Yeah.
Well done. How do you feel?
Well, you help us all speak.
Oh, well done. That was amazing. Well done. Some ladies are very worried about being public, and it's just so amazing when they go, fuck it, and they just speak. And we're so... I get to see this all over the world. I get to see women who didn't ever think that they had a voice, didn't feel they were articulate enough, thought that they were too worried, thought that the repercussions would be too much. And then often, they're faced with a bunch of entitled Daves, and they say, do you know what, I'm going to do it. And it's remarkable and it's wonderful to witness. It's the most incredible thing I ever get to do, is watch a woman just blossom in front of my very eyes. Anyway, who else would like to speak? Come on, Elaine.
Thank you. This is amazing. You're doing great. Hello, Aberdeen.
Hey, you.
Yep. You hear me okay over the... whatever this is? It fascinates me that this group of individuals describe themselves as a civil rights movement, because historically civil rights marches and movements had art. They had something that defined them, that pulled them together, and it was magnificent and it was inspiring. That's just a racket. Anyway, I've got a wee thing written to tell you about in my book, my little book of contemporaneous notes, which we all need these days. So, my name is Elaine Miller, and I'm wearing my coat of many eyeballs to celebrate a woman that understood that feminism is a verb. I'm getting upset. Mary Gordon lived deeds, not words. Which is why two police officers asked Mary to explain why St Andrew House in Edinburgh had "Women Are Watching" chalked across the front of it, thus the eyeballs. She said, "I did it because I feel women's rights are being eroded, as is our ability to talk freely and openly about issues which affect us without being accused of transphobia." That was in 2021, and 4 years on, if you can hear what these people are saying, nothing has changed. We are still not allowed to speak about issues which directly impact us as a sex class without accusations of hate. Stop the hate. It is hateful to describe myself as an adult human female. I've yet to have it explained why. These people call us names in order to persuade us to wheesh. Now, I was recently called a scold by such a person, and I realised that he was right. You know it was a he, don't you? I have turned into a scold. There are 86 MSPs in the Scottish Parliament that I want to scold. They deserve a scolding. Now, in the First World War, women who considered a man to be cowardly gave him a white feather. And in the run-up to the Holyrood elections, I invite you to give each of the 86 MSPs who voted to take away our rights to safety, privacy and dignity a white merkin. I have on my flag wee badges of white merkins, and each one has a label on it with a name of one of the elected representatives who does not care about the 51% of their constituents. I am calling it the Society of Scolds because they deserve it. And what I want to do is to harness the wit of this side of the argument, because you guys are funny. And politicians have absolutely no resilience to mockery. They used to. Politics used to be partly about satire. It's a tradition that goes way, way back. And since the end of Spitting Image, I think our politicians have de-skilled, but you lot are on it. So I want to build something where we harness the skills that all these people have built up and we take the piss out of them, because that's how we'll get them to listen. They hate it. They will pay attention. And eventually, they'll love it if they're getting the attention, and maybe they'll listen to you and they'll vote. They'll get your vote. So I have some postcards with Society of Scolds and some little merkins, and it's blank on the back. So I would like you to take them and write down the reason why you think that person deserves a scolding, make an appointment at their surgery, and go and give it to them. I've also got wee flyers to explain it to you with details of dangerous females that myself and Verity Wilson set up to try and encourage women to get involved in politics. So this is an adaptation of my fringe flyer. Do you remember the fortune tellers that you did when you were little? So it looks like, well, it's got a fanny in it. Because sex is real. And they're either going to pay attention to my wee fanny flyer, or I'm going to have to get mine out. For real. The joke is you lift the flap, ha ha ha. So what we'd like to do is to encourage you to provoke and to engage, to go and speak to these people, to hold hustings in the run-up to the election and stand as an independent, or for the Party of Women, or for anybody else. Mary Gordon died on this day 2 years ago, and if MSPs had listened to her when she said that the GRR bill would do harm to women's and girls' rights to safety, privacy and dignity, then Sandy Peggy would not be in court now. They didn't listen. So thank you for listening. Don't wheesht. Thank you, Kelly. I'm sorry for getting upset.
Oh, no, you won't make it.
Oh, shut up, you idiots. Okay, we're going to have to... Ready? Trans women are... Trans women are... Trans women are... Trans women are... I think we need to say hello, Dave, again, because that just amuses me no end. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Hello, Dave! Do you know what's interesting when Elaine's talking? Can you remember Spitting Image? It totally finished the career of Margaret Thatcher. And little David Owen. Do you remember little David Owen? It's just in someone's pocket. And because of that, he was just belittled. He really couldn't come back from it. And that was because someone was very mean and very funny. But these lot, they have no sense of humour. They just don't, which is why they are definitely going to lose this particular war. And I love the idea of tiny little merkins. So I would say, whatever you do, you must live stream or record it. Every time you do it, I would say not just the things that Elaine is doing today, but make your own, make them double-sided or something so you can just stick them on people as they walk by. I'm really good at kind of the slightly surreptitious stickering, which any minute we're going to have some stickers to give you, which is Make Aberdeen Great Again. Which is a little bit troll-like, because I know some people don't like Trump, so it's extra special for me, because it annoys people at the same time of annoying them about women. Okay, who else would like to speak? Yes. Oh, you're welcome. Let me give you this. I'm going to pin them on your scarf. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm so nervous.
Oh, no, you'll be fine. Hang on, just 1 minute. I don't know who Nancy is,
but they're trying to get her attention. Apparently she's wanted at home. So Nancy, public service announcement, if Nancy's here, could she please get in touch with home and possibly return? Thanks so much.
Thank you. Hello, women! So I stand before you today, not as a passive observer, but as a woman furious at the complacency, the apathy, the silence surrounding the fight for women's rights. In 2025, in this so-called civilized world, we are still being erased, still being controlled, still being silenced. Men roll their eyes at the word feminism and dismiss it as a relic of the past. And the women that roll their eyes at feminism are even worse. But let me make this clear. Feminism is more important than ever, and the battle for equality is far from over, as you can see. So I ask you, are you going to sit back, comfortable in a system that thrives on our submission? Or will you rise and fight for the women who came before us and for the generations to come? One of the most powerful weapons of the patriarchy's arsenal is apathy. They want us to believe that the fight is over, that feminism doesn't matter anymore, that we've got the vote and that things are good enough. But here are the cold, hard truths. 1 in 4 women in the UK will experience domestic violence. 1 in 3 women face sexual harassment at work. Around 100 women are killed every year by men. And 63% of women report experiencing sexual harassment in public places. Yet we still let men into them. And globally, the statistics are even worse. 1 in 3 women will experience physical or sexual violence in their lifetime. 137 women are murdered by a family member every day. And 130 million girls are denied an education. And 650 million women and girls have been forced into child marriage. We were never meant to be free. This world, this system is built to contain us. The patriarchy was designed to break our spirits before we even realised how powerful we could be. From the moment we are born, we're taught to shrink, to serve, to be silent, to obey. Patriarchy manifests in the systems around us in ways we don't even question anymore. Look at the Gregorian calendar, created by men to structure time and measure our days, all based on Christian foundations that erase the contributions of women and other cultures. Look at religion, a system that has historically positioned women as secondary, even subservient to men. How many religious teachings, holy books and rituals have been used to enforce the idea that a woman's place is behind a man, that her body is his property, her role is to serve. They didn't burn witches, they burned women, they burned healers, they burned those who threatened their control. They silenced us, locked us away, took our voices, our rights, our power, and we fought back. They called us angry, hysterical, too much. So I'm asking today, what has submission ever given us? What has silence ever won? Because we are still being erased, silenced and controlled. And now to the patriarchy's weapon of mass intrusion. Trans women are not women. They are men. At the very least, they're a subset of men. Trans women, no matter how they identify, still benefit from male privilege. They use that privilege to demand access to our spaces that are meant for women, silencing anyone who disagrees with them by accusing them of bigotry. The Sandy Peggy case exposes the patriarchy's dangerous attempt to redefine womanhood, erasing women's hard-won rights. Peggy was denied the right to exclude a male-bodied person, not a woman, from a female-only space, disregarding the long history of our struggle to create safe spaces from male intrusion. The courts, complicit in this move, dilute the very concept of what we always had over women's bodies, our spaces and our rights. The UK Supreme Court case over the definition of women is a glaring example of the patriarchy still at work. A court full of men who have never lived as women are debating what it means to be a woman. It's ridiculous and will continue to exploit us. If you're not fighting misogyny, you're supporting it. If you're not a feminist, you're a misogynist. There is no neutral ground. You're either tearing the system down or you're reinforcing it. So I ask you, will you remain silent? Will you allow them to rewrite our history, our reality? Or will you stand with us and fight? I would rather be hated than obedient. I would rather burn it all down than keep turning the wheel on my own oppression. As Emmeline Pankhurst said, I'd rather be a rebel than a slave. The walls that they've built to keep us down are high, but they're not impenetrable. Together, us women have the power to tear them down, brick by brick, to raise the walls to the ground. Our autonomy is non-negotiable. We will not comply. We will not shrink. We will not be silenced. We will rise and we will fight. And when history looks back, it will say that we never stopped. That we, the women who came before us and the women who follow, are free. Free to live, to speak and to be. I'm Sophia Crichton. Thank you.
I'm feeling like I will get to you one sec. I feel like I really want to do something. How far will this microphone go, Mary? How far will this go? Oh, we'll try and find out. I'm going to do a bit of, hello, what's your name, where did you come from? You ready? Hi, boys! Oh, what a day this has been! What a round I'm in! Why, it's almost like being a turf! All right, Dave! All right, Dave! All right, Dave! Oh, so many injuries, so many illnesses. Right, we'll go back, we'll go back. I just had to do it, I'm sorry. I mean, if I've got a microphone that'll move. Bloody Nancy, they keep talking about Nancy. Feeling a bit worried about Nancy. She's not allowed out. She might be underage. I don't know. Nancy. Nancy and Dave. It's like Sid and Nancy, something, I don't know. Anyway. Can you imagine being part of like a real life pantomime? Because I think that's what they think they're part of, is an actual pantomime. They don't really know what I've ever said. They don't really know anything about you. They know that many of you are middle-aged women, which is practically the most hateful thing on the planet. You're not old enough to be wise. You're not young enough to have sex with. I was once... but, you know, men on all sides, eh? What can you do with them? I just want to say one thing about feminism, because I'm not a feminist, very much not a feminist, along with about 93% of the women in this country. And the reason I wish feminists well, but I wish the professional women who call themselves feminists for all this time had not got on their knees for men. Because that's why this movement has co-opted in so many so-called feminist organisations universities where women are feminist professors, and it's because they never actually stood for women in the first place. And they were always just using feminism and the label of feminist as an opportunity for the thought it actually meant to lift up the most vulnerable women. And so I've decided that's what I'm going to do. And I will do that without the label of feminism. And it certainly doesn't mean that I'm standing on the side of men. It means that I don't need a political or a theoretical ideology to shape the fact that I don't want a fucking man in my daughter's changing room. I don't need an ideology to tell me any of these things. We don't need to read about it. We don't even need to talk about it. We can just feel it. We don't want men in our spaces. We don't want men pretending to be women, looking at our bodies in the NHS. Like there are nurses standing against this now. But there have been those doctors laughing as women in the fucking NHS for years. Nobody said anything. Nobody talks about the policemen who call themselves women who want to put their hands down the suspect's pants. Like, it's not just about employment rights and standing up in your job. It's about the many people without a voice who are harmed by this ideology. The patients, in particular, women who face trauma that end up with psychosis, who can't even be guaranteed not to be called transphobic or bigots when they're frightened of men. All men, regardless of how those men pretend to see themselves. Anyway, I'm going to hand over to a delectable lesbian now.
I'm reliably told Kellie-Jay's straight. There's always hope. Sorry. Right. So I was at a meeting. I'm Sally, and I'm told I always say, hello, I'm Sally, I'm a lesbian. So Kellie-Jay did it for me. So I was at a meeting the other day. That was you, Mary. I was at a meeting the other day when somebody I respect a great deal was talking about this rubbish. And she said, women are collateral damage. Now, that particular woman, I don't like to contradict anything she says, but I think she's wrong. We're not collateral damage. We're the point of the damage. You only need to look at these children over here whose entire life seems to be devoted to putting women down and denying our existence to realise that an attack on women is the point. It's not collateral damage. And it's not individual. It's not just happening here in Scotland, here in the UK. It's part of a global movement. It's not a coincidence that all these things are happening. There is a direct line between these children, between what happened to Gisèle Pellicot in France and what's happening to the women in Iran and Afghanistan today. It's all part of the same patriarchal movement. And it's just the different ways in which the patriarchy manifests in its particular culture. And we should never forget that. We should never think that our fight is a different one from the Afghan women's fight. It's the same. It just takes a different form. I'm not saying we're as badly off as they are. I'm just saying it's all connected. And we have to understand these are global, international connections. And particularly in the developed world, if women are to be invisible, nobody is to be more invisible than lesbians. Because, of course, lesbians are the biggest threat to the patriarchy. Because we don't need men. We don't want men in our spaces. We don't want them in our social spaces, not just our safe spaces. We don't want them in our lives. We are the worst kind of transphobic bigots, apparently, because we reject everything about them. In particular, we reject the ridiculous notion that a man can be a woman and a lesbian. Because if you're a heterosexual man, and that means you're attracted to women, and if you're then allowed to call yourself a woman,
you then become a woman who is attracted to women. That would be a lesbian. They're not lesbians, they're heterosexual men. They're deluded, possibly, or simply abusive. But either which way, they're some sort of men. And that invisibility is really dangerous for lesbians, and particularly for young lesbians. Young lesbians have nowhere to go. There are no safe spaces, there are no social spaces for young lesbians to go. When I was a young lesbian, listen to them booing. Yeah, boo to you. When I was a young lesbian, there were lesbian groups. Some of you have heard this before. I lived in a lesbian co-op. We had 30 houses that we squatted. There was dozens, hundreds of us who lived in Hackney in a lesbian co-op. We had lesbian pubs, we had lesbian book groups, we had lesbian bookshops. We had places to go where young lesbians like me, see, I'm a young lesbian still actually, where young lesbians like me could go and meet older women and see and learn from experience that it was okay to be a lesbian in this homophobic, patriarchal society, because it's fine to be just a lesbian. Young lesbians today can't do that. Most of them don't call themselves lesbians, they call themselves queer or non-binary or gay or bisexual, because they're told it's bad to be a lesbian. That makes you transphobic. You have to accept lesbians with penises into your dating pools. When they go on lesbian dating sites, if they say they're only interested in female lesbians, i.e. the only sort of lesbian there is, they get kicked off, because those lesbian dating sites are full of men claiming to be women. So many women we've spoken to have told us that they get kicked off, or they have stopped using the lesbian dating sites because they're full of men. And also they don't want to call themselves lesbian because lesbian is the second most searched for porn category, because we are the man's male, the best fantasy, because we reject sex with men. We don't reject it, we're just not interested in it, so we reject it, yeah. So we're not available to them as sexual objects. So what could be better than conquering lesbians? So lesbian porn is a very, very, very popular and searched after category. It's despicable. So we're invisible. We need to raise our profile. And that's why some months ago I organised a lesbian intervention in the For Women Scotland case, because lesbians up until that point were nearly invisible even in that discussion, and because it was really, really important that the specific lesbian perspective was put, because it's different. We are affected differently in addition to the ways that other women are affected. And it was a joy to me to hear Lord Reid, who's the President of the Supreme Court, who was chairing the panel, and when he was talking to the Scottish Government's barrister, Ruth Crawford, bless her soul, he said to her, so let me get this straight, they were talking about men coming into lesbian associations. So he said, so if a man doesn't have a gender recognition certificate, because the court case is all about whether a GRC makes you legally a woman, if a man doesn't have a gender recognition certificate, he's to be treated as a heterosexual man. Yes, she said. And if he does have a gender recognition certificate, he's to be treated as a lesbian woman. Yes, she said. So he said, the difference is quite stark. That gave me hope. As did the fact that at one point when they were discussing pregnant men, because if you're a woman with a GRC, you're a man, according to the Scottish Government, you lose and you get pregnant. You lose all your pregnancy and maternity rights. And I can't remember what I was going to say now. Oh yeah, when they were talking about that, and it's all about the Equality Act, and he said, well, we do have to try to give the Equality Act an interpretation that is workable. Well, if men can be women, the Equality Act isn't workable. So here is my prediction. You heard it here first. I predict that we will win the case. I could be wrong. And I predict that the lesbian story, the role that the lesbians have played, is going to be an important one. Obviously not the only one, there are many points, but it's going to be an important point in that ruling. That's my prediction. And if I'm wrong, I won't come back next time. And it's also raising the profile of lesbians, because we need to do that, and we need to do it in Scotland, and we need a grassroots lesbian organisation where lesbian women can come together and socialise and activate, if that's the right word, and generally rabble-rouse in the way that we used to. And that's why we started Lesbian Persistence. My friend over there's got a flag. We started Lesbian Persistence to raise the profile of lesbians socially, culturally, and politically, and to create lesbian community. And I'm just going to boast a little bit for a minute, because we started in November, and since then we've had countless social events, including on Burns Night, we had a Burns supper. That'll be a Magdalene Burns supper. It was brilliant. And all lesbians will be invited to our annual Burns suppers. And you've got 11 months if you're not a lesbian. And a couple of days ago, we had lesbian pancakes, and there's nothing tastier than a lesbian pancake, I can assure you. We've submitted responses, 2 minutes. We've submitted responses to international and national consultations, 5. And not one of the international treaties which protects women's rights mentions lesbians. I looked. We are invisible. So if you want to help raise the profile of lesbians, and if you're a lesbian based in Scotland and you're here today, please come and join us. You'll find us under our wonderful new banner. Thank you very much.
She'll be letting women speak when she comes. Can you imagine, right? You're in a civil rights movement and you come and do nursery rhymes. I mean, I quite fancy doing it myself. There's a lady here that's decided she's going to come and tell people what she thinks of them. Oh, fuck off.
Exactly. Now, the last time I was here, I got a punch in the face. And I wasn't going to come today, but I thought, fuckies, I am coming. But first, I brought my support wolf. Come on, baby. Here. I brought my support wolf today. Come on over. Fido. Fido. Good boy. So I decided to come because I've got my support wolf with me. And I decided to come because violence will not silence me. And I will not be bullied. And I don't care if you punch me again and I'll punch you right fucking back. But really, all I really wanted to say was, you can kiss my big, fat, unrepentant female bastard arse. And by the way, women want wished. 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 Never.
By the way, we're having a fundraiser for cheap flights to Gaza, because loads of them have got their Palestinian flags and their queer flags, and I believe they're looking to get out there as soon as possible, and I think that's something that I can support. So if you want to contribute to their flights, just let me know. You can just donate to Let Women Speak, and I'll make sure they get all that money. I just had a page from the NHS consultant nephrologist who's just walked through, in scum. So that's Izar Khan, NHS consultant nephrologist, which apparently means he looks after your kidneys. I can't say what I was going to say then. But anyway, he was calling women transphobic scum as he walked through. I reckon he's probably on about £120,000 a year of our taxpayers' money. And can I just say, that's probably less than a diversity, equality and inclusion officer. So anyway, who else would like to speak? Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Aberdeen! Drawing the short straw following our Julie. Oh my God. Right. Once again, as always, I have absolutely not the foggiest idea what's going to come out my mouth. But I decided I might say something on this International Women's Day about those bastions of defence for women's rights, the trade union movement. Oh, now, ladies, come on, let's be fair. We've had International Women's Day and their defence of women's rights. Those same self-same trade unions like Unison, many decades ago my trade union that I paid God knows how many worth of subs to over the years, but Unison, whose conference recently in Edinburgh voted against motions defending women's rights in the exact same week as a nurse that we've heard so much about already today, Sandy Peggy in NHS Fife, was having to go to a tribunal to demand her right under the Equality Act to single-sex changing rooms. We had Unison, a trade union with a predominantly female membership, with members across the health and social care provision who will be needing care, changing room facilities in the midst of their duties every day of the year. That trade union standing alongside management to attack women's rights to single-sex spaces, not defend women. We had the Royal College of Nursing, Sandy Peggy's own trade union, whom she no doubt has paid a fortune in subs to over her 30 years as a nurse, refusing to represent her. It is absolutely despicable. We had the Scottish, what are they called? Labour. Scottish Labour voting down motions on protecting children and implementing the CAS recommendations. We had Labour, the Scottish TUC voting down motions to defend women's rights. These trade unions are an absolute disgrace, and women need to be voting with their feet and not giving a single penny to the misogynist people that run them. Women's voices are not being heard. We had Unison proudly boasting of the fact that not a single woman stood up to oppose their pro-trans, i.e. anti-women's rights motions. They're proudly defending the fact that they have scared women to death. I was amongst women, mainly women from the Labour Women's Declaration, who leafleted the Unison conference the other week there. We spoke to women going into that conference who were saying absolutely, I can't speak. I can't even speak about this in my workplace because I'm terrified for my job. In 2025, women cannot speak in defence defence of their own protections and their own rights because of bullying misogynist men, supporting these thugs over there who are doing nothing but scream and shout, says she, screaming and shouting, but there you go, screaming and shouting at women to try and silence women. Well, as plenty other women have said already this afternoon, we've put up with so much more than these nutters over there, and there's nothing that they can say or do that will silence us. It certainly won't. And when we've got idiots like Maggie Chapman writing yesterday in the lovely, completely independent, paper, the Scottish National, about International Women's Day, and using it without even actually giving the term correctly about this year's International Women's Day. She used it to just reiterate her ludicrous belief that men can be women. An International Women's Day centering men. Centering men. And on a week where in Holyrood, in the Scottish Parliament this week, the Women's Rights Network in Scotland had a reception hosted by one of the MSPs, Tess White, focusing on launching a report that the WRN Scotland had commissioned, had undertaken, about rape and sexual assault of women and girls in hospital. At a time in hospital where many women and girls are at their most vulnerable, totally vulnerable, and the scale of abuse, sexual assault and rapes against women and girls in hospitals across Scotland, including psychiatric hospitals, is utterly, utterly horrific. And was Maggie Chapman, that great defender of women's rights, was she in Holyrood the other night listening to that evidence and committing to do something to address the abuse of women and girls in hospital? Was she fuck? Were any of the Green MSPs there listening to that? Of course they weren't. They don't care about women's rights. They don't care. Shame, absolutely. Shame on them. And John Swinney, don't even get me started in John Swinney, because I'm just going to say, once again, it's not good enough, John.
Okay, we might have to clear a bit of a path. I don't know if the police are ready. Iris, do we have to clear a path? Not yet. Not yet, okay. Okay, who else would like to speak? Can I just recommend, if you're speaking, can you keep it short now, because we need to wrap up? Yes.
Thank you. Hello Aberdeen, nice to be here. My name's Mary Howden. I was at the Holyrood reception that we had, sponsored by Tess White this week, and presenting the evidence in the chamber. It was really well attended. I think what I'd like to say about that is that it feels like there's a ground shift in terms of people coming along and wanting to hear what women have to say. We had people that you wouldn't have expected to come along and listen to us 2 years ago, even last year when we held a similar event. So there's two things about it. One is, I do think that our voices are starting to be heard. We're a long way off. And of course, really, they don't have any argument. All they can do is try and drown us out, and that's not going to happen. The other thing about the report that we produced is that Jane mentioned there about rapes and sexual assaults. It's really important to have a look at it. Have a look at your health board. Have a look at Grampian if you're here. The figures aren't great.
and it's only a very small proportion of hospitals that we were able to get figures for. So it's very much underreported, but I do think that we're beginning to get some traction with that. And look out from the Sunday Post tomorrow, because Marion Scott, who is a tenacious warrior of a reporter, is doing an article for us about that event. So download the report off the Women's Rights Network website and have a look at it. It's only the start. There's some recommendations. Write to your health boards. Ask them what they're doing around these recommendations. I think the more people that do that, the better. The other thing I'd like to say is that we touched earlier Jean from Aberdeen, the wonderful woman who we are all growing to love and think of as our close friend, even though we don't know her that well, mentioned the Afghanistan, the women in Afghanistan, as did Sally when she was talking about it. And what I'd like to remind you of is that the Women's Rights Network is holding vigils monthly for the Afghan women. And people have said to us, well, what's the point in doing that? But what we have is a network of women in Afghanistan and young girls who are hearing those things, who are hearing us stand there and read out their words. And it's really important that we support that. So continue to support the vigils on a monthly basis. So anyway, that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much for listening to me. Sorry.
Thank you. Unless there's anyone else. Did you want to speak? Yes.
Hi everyone. Oh, we're going to have to speak really loud. Okay. Hi everyone. Right, one thing. Self-ID is not legal in Scotland. We defeated it. So, unfortunately, services have implemented self-ID because they thought it was going to pass, and it didn't. So I think everybody needs to write, anytime you see anybody do self-ID, stop them. Now, unfortunately, the Scottish Government have been arguing in court that a man can become legally a woman, and we're going to have that judgment in maybe a month or whenever, and in which case that will clarify that. But a man without a GRC today is not legally allowed in women's safe spaces, so don't let them away with it. And the Scottish Government are not to be trusted. John Swinney is not to be trusted on this at all, because when he was questioned by Ash Regan about this, he gave a very snaky answer. He never says single sex, he says safe spaces. It's not the same thing at all. So keep your eye out, know your rights, know that men are not allowed in these spaces. Whether you're at work or you're anywhere you are, they're not allowed. We defeated self-ID. Don't trust John Swinney, because he's like Nicola Sturgeon's puppet. And we are going to win this fight, because look how far we've come. Okay, women won't we?
You had to tell me you were going to do that. I was over there.
Well, I'm going to wrap up. So, I want to say thank you very much to the local organisers who worked really hard and faced cancelling and let's face it, they've worked in a group with other women and they haven't killed each other. So in many ways, that's an absolute mountain they've all managed to climb. Let Women Speak is a global movement that I'm very, very proud of. And it all started quite some time ago. But I am, as far as I'm aware, the first person in the United Kingdom to be interviewed under caution for saying a man is a man, and it's abominable
to take a child to Thailand and castrate him. So I've been under the attention of the police since 2017. Since that time, I've been interviewed 4 or 5 times, I can't remember, by the police for saying various things, including accusing Susie Green of being a children's champion. Apparently sarcasm is illegal. I put up a billboard in 2018, which meant I was the first story in national news here to actually talk about this at all. So in 2018, I both got interviewed by the police, in which the police travelled across the country and used taxpayers' money to stay in a hotel so they could interview me about 6 tweets. I mean, way back then, I was quite looking forward to being charged, to be honest. But my husband was significantly worried, and my children, that I might end up actually going to prison, that something terrible would happen. Maybe we were restricted on where we could travel. And yet I just thought, fuck it, I'm going to carry on. So 2 days before my son's birthday, I packed away my phones, my devices, thought it was all rather silly and hid them in a friend's garage, thinking the police would come and take all of my items. And that would sound fucking hilarious right now if that hadn't actually happened to women since then. Caroline Farrow being one of them, because of a litigious, pornified, nappy-wearing, trans-identifying, man, just a man, porn-sick man, got the attention of the police. He's incredibly litigious. And he managed to get the police to raid that woman's home and confiscate all of her devices. We had another woman in Newport, Jenny, whose house was raided because they thought she might have been stickering. She got feminist books removed from her house. And then we have other cases that I'm sure you know. There's another woman where they were asking for, this is genuinely true. The police told her they were going to take DNA swabs to find out if she'd done the stickering in a fucking toilet. It makes you wonder whether dirty protest would actually be more effective. Maybe some tampons in the men's toilets. I don't know. I'm not advocating such violence. But anyway, I've been doing this a really long time, and I do this full time. So I just say, if you would like to support what I do, and I genuinely need you to support what I do, go and buy yourself a nice hoodie. They will be, and I know I shouldn't say this, it's immodest, but they will be the nicest item probably in your entire wardrobe. Because they're made and they're organic in Portugal, and we print them in Wiltshire. And it's really, really high quality stuff, but more importantly, you get to give yourself a voice if you feel silenced. You can look as good as that gorgeous woman over there, flashing her breasts. I mean, that is another thing you do with all of my items. It means you can go along, and in a kind of women's rights way, you can just flash your tits wherever you go. And it's empowering. Unlike the other way of flashing your tits, which just definitely is not. So, please go to letwomenspeak.org and support what I do. Just get yourself some merch, or put your hands in your pockets and donate, because otherwise this doesn't happen. And I honestly will tell you that this is the most effective women's rights global campaign group that exists, full stop. We change laws, our language gets used in executive orders, which has given rights to American women. It's my activism that made everybody start talking about this in Australia, in Glasgow, in Edinburgh, in New Zealand. Just by nearly being killed, everyone talks about it. Clearly I'm not the only person, but I would argue I'm one of the most effective. So please support what I do. So, I never normally do this, but I feel I should sell myself a bit more. If you
think the Daves are a bunch of porn-sick arseholes, then I promise we will win. If you can make sure with every opportunity you open your voice and you say the words that need to be said, I promise we will win. And do you know why else we're going to win? Well, because I never lose. Thank you to Iris and Mary and Laura and Una.
Do you want to get off in a car over by Laura's?
Yeah, that's what I'll do. So we'll walk to Laura's.
Well, we can get you off on your own. I know where the guy is. You can go with him.
Yeah, I think she'll want a camera to come with me.
Oh.
No, okay, no then.
Yeah, because you can't fit the camera in there.
Is it possible
You can
to
do.
get a selfie with you?
You can. Are you coming to the pub?
I'm trying to. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
then
scared.
meet me there. I've got. I've got to get the car. Go on.
Can
you
I
can
do
do
it?
it. Yeah.
You're my hero. Not just a hero. I've been following you from South Africa for 3 years.
Oh.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, you can cut it. We can